one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so I think what we're gonna do tonight is we had a couple of items from the work session that bled over that I think we're gonna do first, and then we will hop into the regular meeting agenda for the city council meeting. So with that, before we get to that, can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Councilmember Perchman,
Second?
second by Councilmember Pasco. It is gonna be a long night, Pasco. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, just to bring us up to date, we are on the certified levy project up.
Mary Johnson?
Yeah.
Would you mind just, we have a, David Breck with the school district is here, and
Sure.
they have a school board meeting tonight, so we wanted to get their item in and then him back off to the
Okay,
school board meeting.
yes, let's do that. Let's talk about that. So, okay, forget what I said. We'll shoehorn 8.1 in before we go back to the work session. Does that sound good? Okay. As David's looking at his watch. Okay. Okay. So let's do item 8.1, the Commerce Drive Extension Project for Eastern Carver County Schools. Mr. Anderson, welcome. Thanks for bearing with us
Thank you,
tonight,
Mayor.
as this is going to be a little fly by our seat of our pants.
Thanks, Mayor and Council. It's an interesting vantage point here, but get used to it. So we're here for this item. We're talking about the Commerce Drive Improvement Agreement and the deal that staff has been working for months on with the school district, ISD 112, as well as the Wickenhausers, who own the property that's to the north of the 20 acres that the school district just purchased. So that project has been reviewed, and there's some preliminary work that's gone into it from Bolton and Mink to kind of create a concept plan that is attached to the agreement, and it's for extension of Commerce Drive North. The street's gonna go north, it's gonna bring sewer and water to that school district parcel and the parcel to the north of it, as well as storm sewer improvements to manage runoff from that new impervious surface, which will be the street. And like I said, staff's been talking to the school district for quite a while about this project, and there's an agreement that we've presented tonight for the council that does a few things. Most importantly, it amounts to a formal petition for the project from the school district. And what that means is that the city will be able to construct it under Minnesota Statutes Chapter 429, which allows us to specially assess their property for it. So that is baked into the agreement. It also talks about many terms and conditions related to the acquisition of easements. We will need to get some easements both from the school district over a portion of their 20 acres, as well as the Wickenhausers, who are also a party to the agreement. And then there's a small off-site easement necessary on the Lakeview Industries parcel, which is just west of this, which we're also going to have to get as part of the project, or to support the project. Very high level, the way that we intend on this whole deal working out is Bolton and Mink is gonna design and bid the project, and we're collecting a escrow from the school district that will have to be maintained at $50,000 to support that ongoing design work throughout sort of the near term, I would say, to get us through bidding. They will also be obligated to pay the city the lump sum after we bid the project, and that's anticipated for next spring, just because it's going to take some time for design, easement acquisition. There's other things that need to happen with permitting and some wetland work that needs to be done. And so we're teeing this up for a spring of 2027 bid, which will then offer everybody what the total cost is going to be. It's a $2.3 million estimate right now for total project cost. Might come in lower, could come in higher. But the bottom line is this agreement's been drafted in a way that the city has no risk. The school district has agreed to pay for the entirety of the project. If bids come in higher than anticipated, the school district will have an opportunity to agree to a larger assessment. But if they don't want to do that, then we would be able to walk and there'd be no project. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but I just want to make sure the council understands that the city has a lot of protection in this agreement from overages and those kinds of things. So again, there's a lengthy agreement in your packet. That's a pretty high-level, quick summary of where we're at and how we got here. The schedule in terms of what we would anticipate from a design, bidding, construction standpoint is in the memo that is in your packet. Again, we'd be looking at bidding next spring, construction next summer, into the fall, substantial completion by, I think, October, November-ish. And then final completion would occur after the freeze-thaw cycle, so it'd be sometime in 2028. As we know, Mr. Brecht from the school district is here. The agreement has already been agreed to in principle and signed by both ISD 112 as well as the Wickenhausers. I'm here to take any questions if there are questions, but I think this is a good result. I think it gives the city a lot of control over what's going to be a public improvement project. It's going to make this property developable for the school district, and it's going to benefit that whole area and make, I think, a lot of improvements that that we'll see some growth in that area in the near future. So.
Questions?
I like it when the attorney says there's no risk.
I was just gonna ask him, I'm like, okay, risk, what is the risk? Is there risk? Is there anything? Risk to us?
Financial risk?
Yeah, and what are the risks of this? I know that you've done your due diligence, and I completely trust in what you're telling us. I just feel like if it's too good to be true, why is there no risk for us?
Well, this is a project that many times you'd see a developer building these improvements to accommodate what they want to construct on their site. In this case, the school district has vision for a transportation facility at this site, which I know that has been mentioned before, but they're not a developer, and so they've been meeting with the city to talk about what are our other options here. Are we willing to work with them? And I know staff's been open to it, and there really is no financial risk at all. Again, typically what we would see is if a developer wanted to put something on that site, they would come and say, okay, here's how we're going to extend commerce. Our engineers would review it and do all that typical work on the front end to make sure their plans are adequate, but the developer would be paying for 100% of it. That's what we would expect. And in this case, it's just a little different because we're working with another public entity, not a traditional developer. And so, again, I mean, from a financial standpoint, there really is no risk that we're going to have skin in the game, other than sweat equity, but that's really normal with any development, with all the land use applications and the agreements and the inspections that our engineers do. So it's just going to be it's going to look from everyone's perspective and for all intents and purposes like any other public project. It's just we're not paying for it. It's the school district that will pay for it.
Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
No questions. I would entertain a motion.
So I'll make a motion to approve and authorize execution of site improvement, petition and waiver and reimbursement agreement for Commerce Drive Street and utility extension project.
Motion by Councilmember Hirschman.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Conrad, and we'll second Mock. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, now we are going to go back to the certified levy project update topic from our work session. For those of you who are new or are watching from home, I generally refer to these as our kitchen table conversations where we're talking about issues for sometimes the first time, and they're just a little bit more casual. So with that, Mr. Schmidt, Mr. Hubner.
Sounds good. Thank you. Looks like the TV's turning on. Yep.
There we go.
In the meantime, I think one of the things that we had already talked about was obviously the $3 million gap in the funding, and I will say that one of the things that Carver's really important to us, and we know that we let you down with that initial estimate and what we have today, and we want to make sure that we give you the best information that we can, and perhaps we could have earlier in the process done a detailed analysis on the quantities, and we'll make sure that in the future that none of that happens again. That certainly is very important to us, and this project has changed a number of times throughout, and we probably should have taken those changes to heart and really gotten into some of the details to update some of those numbers, and we do apologize for that. But where we stand today is to try to fill that $3 million gap. And I think we spent a long time having conversations about some of the design considerations in the work session, also some of the future funding opportunities that might be there. But I think the thing that we have to remember is right now we do have a significant amount of money, and we're recommending that we bid this project in its entirety this summer. So we bid all 3 phases. We anticipate having enough money to bid phase 1 and 2, and phase 1 is Spring Creek from all the way down to the pedestrian way. Phase 2 is from Spring Creek to the east, and try to get that open to coincide with the Merriam Trail grand opening. And then see what the real cost actually is for that phase 2 and see where we land to the 3rd segment, which is Spring Creek to the west. And that segment contains the Ash Street lift station, which is in serious need of reconstruction, and some adjustments to the levee, and grading improvements and height increases. That would give us an opportunity to look at where the real money is at, and also allow us to construct 2/3 of the levee. And it would also allow us to begin the Clomar application and get the properties that are east of the levee, all of the businesses and so forth, begin to get them recognized for their Clomar and get them out of the floodplain and stop paying insurance and having any restrictions on those properties. So it gets us down the road a ways, and then that gives us some options to look at the other funding sources that we looked at and continue to pursue some outside funding that might be available. As far as schedule, right now we're finishing up easement acquisition. Fall, we're looking at a bid date and award and beginning construction late fall, early winter this year on Spring Creek and the western segment, and then continue to work on the certification. That process can linger a long time. It takes a while for the federal government to get through that. It's usually a lot of back and forth on varying things. We've already begun that process with what we call a CLOMAR, a conditional letter of map revision. So they're going to look at the plans we currently have drafted, give us some direction on areas that we might want to make some modifications to make it easier to go through the final process. So we're currently in that process with FEMA, and we're currently in the application process and permits with DNR and the other entities as well. And with that, I'll entertain some questions.
Those good questions.
I have a timing question.
Go ahead.
We talked about in the work session that there's going to be some need to go back through some provisional permitting because of the changes that we're talking about possibly to this SHPO, things like that. How much do we anticipate that delaying groundbreaking for this project?
Well, I think we talked about 2 concepts, and I don't know that there's a decision on it. I think what we would recommend is we continue to bid through concept A and see what the real cost of the project is, and come back and have that conversation. If we want to take out some of those amenities that are included in concept A and go with concept B, one of the things we have to remember is that we wouldn't be able to get those funded in the future from outside sources to bring them back in. Whereas now they're currently eligible for funding because they're in our current permits and
Say that
the
one more
rest of
time,
it.
I'm sorry. What part can't we bring back?
If you can't bring back the amenities in the future under, we can't
Oh.
build concept A on grant dollars in the future. They'd have to be all city dollars.
Okay.
And when we got these grants, federal, state, more local, we just got them basically in mostly layman's terms for a levy in the city of Carver, not something that looked more like concept A or concept B. That's immaterial to the grant requirements.
Immaterial to the grant requirements. The question is, how will SHPO view the change,
Yep.
right? SHPO has essentially permitted concept A. They have not seen concept B.
And when you say that we are 60% through design, we are designing concept A at this point?
Correct.
Okay. So if we were to change course and to go to concept B, at what point do we need to say, hey, Todd, we're pulling back?
fairly soon,
Yeah.
I would think, yeah.
Okay.
I have a question then, back to, can you go back to the bid phasing recommendation? Okay, so so green plus yellow, phase one, do we have enough money to complete that section? Can we, and do we? With the grant money and all the funding that we've received so far, can we do our concept A on phase one, and then we'll have to figure out phase two later? I mean, is there enough money, or does the project and what we've applied for have to cover all of the phases? Or can we just shove it all towards one and two?
The money
See,
we
I got
received
it.
to date, we can use to build phase one, phase one here that we have the green and the yellow. There is always been a conversation about phasing this project based on the availability of financing. That's one of the conversations that we had with the DNR. They wanted to know if it was phased. Our legislators wanted to know if they could be phased. And we've always indicated the project can be phased. And so this phasing would not be out of any of the discussions we've had with them over the years.
Okay, so if we're looking at phase one, and then obviously there's phase two, which it says we can bid as an alternate. If we have phase one, do we have enough money to do concept A with phase one right now?
We believe we have enough money currently to do phase one.
Okay, in the concept A, the preferred?
Yes.
Okay, so then phase two, let's say we were to put all of the money that we have towards phase one, and then later on, we obviously need to get to phase two. Can we reapply for different grants, or are we kind of out of luck at that point?
No, we can continue. As I mentioned previously, the DNR flood mitigation program, we're still eligible for that to finish phase three. It's a matter of timing in trying to figure out when the legislature will act and renew new funding and bring new funding to the flood mitigation grant program. Based on past history, once those programs are open, they typically continue to fund them until the projects are completed.
Okay. If phase one, let's say we put phase one forward, we use all the money that we have, and we get concept A, is that complete enough to remove some of the flood insurance and some of those restrictions on those homes that are in those area, or does it have to go through all the way through phase two so that the masses, I mean, in totality, can get that?
No, we can begin the flood insurance relief to everyone that lives on the east side of the levee. We'll have a certified levee that covers the east side of downtown Carver,
Okay,
the historic Carver.
okay, so they could still see those savings
Yes.
without completing phase
Yep.
two?
And I would recommend that when we finish that, we start that process and get it moving, because it takes such a long time to
Sure.
do.
Okay,
And I don't think that this is what you're saying, but there is, because of the grant requirements, a requirement and expectation that we finish phase two at some point.
At some point in time, yes.
Okay. And
Just to
then,
be clear, that at some point doesn't have a defined end date.
Correct.
we've always said that this
Okay.
will be phased based on the
Got it.
financing that we have. I don't think we can hold them off until
No.
2040, but I think we have some time. Just anecdotally, you asked, can we just get another grant? This is something that I've been working on since 2019, probably 2017. I went back, our first meeting on council was talking about this levy project back in 2017. We have heard from when the House Capital Investment Committee was out here last September. We heard from one of the folks on there, why are you asking us for more money? We already gave you, what did we get from the state? $6 million? Which was like, because, my answer of, because the project isn't fully funded yet, didn't carry any weight. That was a, hey, why do you keep bugging us with this? Why do you keep asking? So my gut is saying that our chances at state bonding money isn't as great as it was when we started this. I believe that we have missed the funding cycle already for 2027 federal funds. I think that just opened for a few days and might already be closed or closes in a couple of days.
Probably close.
So really, we've got a lot of eggs in this DNR flood mitigation bucket or having to levy for the levy.
What do we think the phase 2 red is?
If I might interject, I guess I should stand back that we can make the decision on concept A and B after we open bids, and we could eliminate some segments from that and see what the savings are. I mean, I would recommend we go to bid, and then we could eliminate some of that flat work.
Mayor and council, there's two pots of money for this hazard mitigation money. So what you're referencing, Mayor, is the straight bonding request. What Todd's referencing is there an ongoing program that you would have to appear at Senate hearings for, et cetera. It's kind of where that initial 200,000 came from, correct?
Correct.
Okay, how much is it for phase 2, the red portion? Like, what dollar amount do we have on that?
Yeah, I think it's around 2.8.
2.8,
Or 2,
okay.
yeah, somewhere in there.
Does that have any dial back in the construction, the aesthetics of it, when we're looking at B?
As far as,
So, sorry, you're flipping around on.
Yeah, I was just,
pictures.
sorry, I was just going to we have a summary slide on the cost.
Okay,
This is going
so
on.
when we're looking at phase 2, right, the red section there, I know that a lot more of our, aesthetically more pleasing things are obviously gonna be a little bit closer downtown, because we're looking at more retaining wall, right, the people's backyards. So do we have do we have a concept B for that section, or is that kind of just stagnant in what that red section's gonna look like?
concept, well, so the red segment there is no concept B for that. It's all turf for the most part.
Okay.
There's some retaining wall in and around the access point where the new Street lift station will be.
Okay,
And then we have some sheet pile at the Masonic Lodge there, the old
Yep.
stables that will be installed with that as well.
okay. So no matter what happens, phase 2 basically is gonna look and be what it is
Yeah.
right now.
Yep.
Okay.
There's-
I feel like it's probably a topic for another, do you need to know from us tonight, direction of concept A or B?
I think what we're asking is to prepare and bid the project as it currently is, and then we could, based on the bid results, come back and pare some of those back. We can bring the information, because we can show you what the savings would be, the real savings on eliminating some of those things, along with what the real cost of segment 2 is. And we'll also continue to work with the DNR to try to figure out, if they do fund it, what's our new cost participation formula, because they're updating that, and we can bring all that information back and give you the opportunity to give a decision based on real numbers.
Okay. If we bid A and then say, whoo, this is more than $1 million, or we're not comfortable spending the $1 million on the beautification aspect of this project, what does that set us back timing wise? Because I assume we would have to reject those bids and then put it out. for
I don't
another
think
bid.
we'd need to reject the bids. We
Change
can
order it out.
change order it out with the contractor.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Post award.
And we'll,
Can I just, we can talk through
Yes,
this.
sir.
Sorry.
Not used to having to.
the seat next to Brent is.
Yeah, you can-
Yeah, we can probably take this too offline, but I just want, the change order part always throws me off, because I want to make sure we're not, communicating with a low bidder prior to award, and then agreeing to some sort of post-award change order, so I want to make sure we think through that. We don't need to talk about it now, but I always
Yeah,
use that as a
there's
red
several
flag.
things to consider. If there's a significant price change between the high and low bidder based on what we're changing, then we have to have a conversation about what
Right.
we do. But in circumstances, we've done this before, we've been able to walk through those things. And we could set up the bid spec in a way that might make it easier for us to do that too.
Okay. And then
Okay.
just,
Go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say, just like any other project, do we authorize plans and specifications? Is this what we're doing? We've already done that. You're 60% of the way through.
Yep,
Then we see them before they go out to bid.
yep. We'll bring
Okay.
them back to you
So that's
for
when we have the next
advertisement.
conversation on this.
Correct.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify, that $1 million isn't they're not site amenities, cause that wouldn't be eligible. This is a different way of maintaining it, rather than driving on grass, you're driving on concrete.
Correct.
Rather than, you know, getting a long-armed, backhoe, right? Is that the right term? You have railings where it might be easier to access, so
Yep.
just for like the record, for those watching, these aren't, the state and feds aren't funding $1 million worth of amenities. It's another approach to maintenance.
Correct. And it's also, I would say that some of this was with the railings and that, and the visibility was part of our conversations at the Historic Preservation Society as well. So trying to not box it in as much. So we'll be having conversations with them again. They get another round of input into the design plans as we move forward. So we'll have a conversation with them.
It would be helpful for staff to understand the council's vision for this if you were like, we're committed to concept A and barring big budget changes, we want to try for that for phase 1 and 2. Or if you're saying, no, we want to cut $1 million from the budget. So if you're ready to say that tonight, we would take that because that would be helpful. If you need more
Yeah.
time, we can also do that. But the sooner we know, just from a cost savings perspective, so we're not misusing time and resources on something that you don't support, the better off we'll be collectively.
I can make a quick answer. I can't say committed to either one yet, not knowing the price.
That's not an answer.
But my first choice is A, but I would like to see aerial photo of those different, like we looked at 3, I feel like streets. And that if we had to, at a minimum, I would want one of those 3 to have some type of railing so that we don't have so much concrete, something that a person could view and just look.
I think that's.
Can I just warn, like, we're looking at a project that is, for all intents purposes, from where we're sitting,
Yeah.
$3 million over budget from what we were considering a couple months ago. Every time we ask for different concepts, different pictures, this costs money from our engineering team. So I think we should be really prudent in that spend, even though we don't have shovels in the ground yet. Go ahead.
Yes, now I was a little sidetracked. So my preference is that we put it out as A, see what comes back, then we can start dialing back different pieces of it. If I'm correct in that understanding, then we can start dialing back different pieces of it to get into the funding range we need to be in. So if that is, all of those things are true, I would prefer to keep A and to see how that comes back.
I am comfortable cutting straight to concept B. This is, we're talking about the Spring Creek section. Have we seen some really, have we seen some pictures that make it look like it would be a lot easier to maintain this and be aesthetically pleasing? Yes. Are we potentially gonna hear from the residents along that stretch that they don't want folks walking along what they consider their backyards? I'm anticipating that. I think $1 million, this is $1 million that we're talking about. It's not gonna look like a prison wall, we'll make sure that it's stamped concrete. It's gonna look just like the bridges, we'll tie it into our historic downtown. It's already stamped concrete in what we're seeing in some of the concepts for the walls of it, because there are wall portions of that. I'm comfortable with cutting as much as we can, as soon as we can, to lead to the end game of having a certified levy. Kayla or Eric?
I agree with Mayor Johnson. I'm comfortable cutting back the budget to get this done. This is a project downtown needs, and as nice as the aesthetic parts would be, the most important thing is having a functional levy.
I just want to respond to both of you. Then, if that is the concept that you guys are in favor of, I mean, that is basically what I had proposed. I mean, if it comes in so high that we just can't feasibly do it, then we can dial it back down to this one, which is my understanding is what we can do. But at that point, we would have the opportunity, let's say it did come in closer than we think, to maybe keep some of it, keep some of the aesthetic things in that are maintenance important as well. But then we have the option, if we completely tie our hands to having any options, if we just go straight to B. Am I super confident that the numbers are gonna come in really great? No, I'm not. But at the same point, it leaves us open to the fact to having bits and pieces of it that we might be able to still include.
I was reacting to Brent's question of it would be great to have direction of where your preference is right now.
Mhm.
I think while we may be saying the same thing, at the end of the day, I'm okay with starting at B.
So the problem I see with B is it precludes us from ever adding those things back in. We have to start with A to work down if we want to keep any of those features, roadways, maintenance ways, in the project. I don't even know how we're gonna come up with the $1.7 million delta in concept B. It's not as though concept B gets us there. We're still 1.7 million away. You know, as far as engineering costs and going back and forth, I'll be looking at you guys for that. We're only in this because we didn't have a number to go ask for the right amount of money. I would rather see A so we can work backwards if there's any piece of that we choose to keep, or we decide in some further discussion, now we really need to have this access way be paved, or we're gonna have city expense going forward, fixing the grass every time we bring a vehicle down there. So I'd like to see A and work backwards from that.
That was one of the questions that I asked, kind of to your point about additional expenses, like, do we need, with option A, are we gonna need a new special doohickey to dig out the levee when we need to kind of pull out the sediment out of that? And are we gonna need something that has a certain angle and reach,
What'd you call that, Brent?
Long arm.
Long arm.
or doohickey? But it's my understanding that that was something that we would already be under the assumption that we would rent, or that it's something that we already have existing equipment that could do the job,
So
regardless of concept.
I think that's the direction that we have, is that there's not consensus and the council has some varying viewpoints on it, and I think we can work within that framework, because the reality is you don't have to make a decision tonight, but just hearing that, I think, gives us some ingredients to come back to you with some more refined information. And we'll just proceed from there. I think there's certainly some things that we can work through.
Do we go forward? So we're not gonna go get bids until we settle on this?
Yeah, we're not in a position, we don't
All right.
have the plans completed enough to go get bids, and there's always, you know, for as much as we rely on engineers' estimates, like, it only costs, we only know what the costs are once we get the bids, so there's always that extension of kind of, you don't know until you know. But I think there's some things we can do just with the differences between concept A and B to maybe find, instead of it just being A and B, maybe there's like a B plus, A minus.
Let's make it an A minus. Okay.
That sounds good.
Thank
You
you.
have what you need from us.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you, guys. Let's close out the work session agenda and talk about private well regulations and a draft ordinance.
Did we go to community comment? Did we skip over that?
We haven't gotten there yet,
Okay.
but we will.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm pinch hitting here for Andrew Simmons tonight. But this is a follow-up over several work sessions the council has related to private wells in the community. At your December 15th work session, you asked for an ordinance update that used some more plain language and for residents to understand the regulations. You wanted to make sure that new wells were allowed through a permit process. And then 3, provide protections to ensure wells don't inadvertently interfere with the municipal water system. And through help from the city attorney, Dave Anderson, an amendment to the ordinance has been drafted that does what we believe or accomplishes those goals. Also have an application, a new application that was drafted through the help of Natalie Meyer and Andrew Simmons. So happy to answer any questions that you may have. We feel like this kind of resolves the issue kind of on both the chords. One, the council wanted to make sure private wells exist, but also protecting adverse conditions to a well system, giving the city engineer and public services director the ability to say, hey, we have information that leads us to believe that this could cause an issue. So again, happy to answer any questions or take any feedback from the council. If you're happy with it or happy with it with some additions or deletions, we can schedule it for a regular council meeting.
Council?
Well, the language is in here that we, engineering has the sole discretion to make a decision, so I think that protects us for the well, right?
I don't know the answer to that, but you're looking at me, so.
Well, okay, so that's my comment.
Well, he's like looking directly at me.
I'm looking at
The rest of
council.
us didn't make eye
So,
contact.
I'm happy with that language, let me put it that way, that I think it gives us that flexibility. We don't shut it down completely, but the city engineer gets to make the call.
Correct.
So, do you mind? So, Aaron, I don't know if I can put you on the spot or if it'd be more in Andrew's wheelhouse, but what is a scenario where we would say no? Like, what is an adverse condition where we would be like, that's not gonna work here?
So probably the biggest consideration we'd have is if they would be drilling into an aquifer that we have our production wells in. So that would be a big thing that we would be looking for, because if they're essentially tying into our aquifers, there could be another source of contamination to the water supply.
Okay.
So that would be a big trigger point.
If folks are digging fairly deep
Yeah, like
in the
300-400 feet
where we have
deep
our
for our
wells.
deep water wells.
Okay.
So that would be a pretty costly endeavor for
Yeah.
a private residency. So I don't know that we'd see that, but
If you had to guess, how deep would an irrigation well be?
I mean, you could do a shallow drift well, 30, 40 feet deep,
Okay.
surface water well,
Okay.
not a confined aquifer.
I'm over 200 feet from getting to that. So it's like 60.
Okay.
Like, they're very, like, the fact that no one's gonna water their lawn and spend that money to get 300 feet down for the water. It wouldn't be.
I was
Yeah, no,
just
I'm not
curious about
laughing
how
at you.
well-
I'm just like, the thought of someone doing that is so
Wow.
interesting, yeah. But we're
It's
protected
covered.
from
This
it.
whole-
It's
I
covered.
think you guys know how I feel about this. The whole
Yeah.
thing is interesting to me when we're concerned about water.
Are you ready for me?
I am.
Okay. My only question on this is when I first read it, I found the first two a little bit confusing because it says the drilling of new wells shall not be permitted for dwellings which can be serviced by municipal water. So all of our homes basically can, but it makes it initially kind of sound like if you can get water service, you can't have it. So does it need to be, I know we have notwithstanding the foregoing new irrigation wells, but just that first line, I mean, could it have a few more words that just say, because otherwise, let me get this out correctly. So the drilling of new wells shall not be permitted for dwellings which can be serviced by municipal water system. They're kind of two separate things. This is irrigation wells, and here we're talking about our municipal water service that you would run lines into your house.
I understand, but that's why the second sentence is very important, because the city wouldn't allow someone to drill a well for potable water.
Yep.
And so the second sentence saying that you can for an irrigation well or for exterior property maintenance. So
Okay.
one sentence, like, I hear what you're saying is, I think like, in my opinion, it works better as two sentences than to combine it all into one.
Okay.
And
And the,
can I jump in too, council member? So I think the punchline is the first sentence. I mean, let's be honest, the irrigation well is a exception to what is the rule. And the
Mhm.
rule is, we don't drill new wells if you have access to municipal water.
okay.
I think that second part is really the clarification about if if you do want an irrigation well, you can go through the process and get a permit. You know, our engineering and public works teams will look at that and determine if it's going to be okay. But I think the reason that first sentence is there, because that's really from my perspective, the sentence that is of most importance. And that's why we have it drafted that way, but
Okay.
that's my take on it.
So then the title then, where it says use required wells prohibited, does that say everything we need it to say then, because technically this is a well, but the title says well prohibited?
We could add another semicolon and maybe irrigation exception after that or something, just to
That-
clarify in the heading that there's
Yeah.
an exception.
That would be perfect, then everything else looks great to me.
Sure,
Okay?
makes sense.
Anybody else?
I have I guess an enforcement question. Language is great. I'm glad we're doing this. My question is, if someone digs a new well under this permit and after that fact is using it for an improper purpose, what's the city's recourse?
We probably have to seek an injunction
Okay,
in district court.
okay. Which is what we would have to do now if somebody already has a irrigation well. That they're
If
using
they're
it properly.
Using it for an improper purpose, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, doesn't change anything. Got it.
Right. Good? Got what you need from us? Okay. Okay, let's jump back into the regular meeting agenda.
We've done a lot of jumping.
We're gonna do a lot of jumping tonight. We are at item number 4, community comment. At this point in our meeting, presenters are welcome to address the city council for matters that are related to the City of Carver's authority for up to 5 minutes on matters that are not listed on tonight's meeting agenda. Specific requests for information may not be immediately available, in which case follow-up will occur with the presenter sometime after this meeting. The city council should not be expected to immediately act on requests. However, they will follow up accordingly and may schedule items for future consideration. Anyone with community comment items? Going once, going twice? Okay. We have no presentations and reports. We have no public hearings. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Councilmember Conrad,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Sayer. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, moving on to item 8.2, the interim ordinance for data center moratorium. Ms. Smith, sorry.
That's okay. Let's see if it does it. Ugh.
There it is. Thank you, Mayor and Council. The discussion tonight with some action requested by the council is a continued discussion from the March 2nd work session. So I know there's some interested parties in the room, but if folks are watching online, I would encourage folks to go back if they want some information, hear the discussion that council had. The March 2nd work session would be a great place to start, just to hear council's take, some feedback. I'm going to go over my slides pretty quickly, so it's the same slides that we saw on March 2nd, but for additional detail, I'd recommend going back and watching that work session, which is available on the city's YouTube channel. So some information about what a data center is, why we're talking about it, what could happen. A data center primarily is used to store, manage, process, and transmit digital data. They're a pretty hot topic in Minnesota, so if you Google a data center, you're probably going to pull up an article from some community that's thinking about them in some type of way. Communities are approaching them differently, obviously. And why is it happening in Minnesota so aggressively right now? So there's obviously a growth in AI. The Minnesota climate lends itself to work well for data centers, since we have a chillier climate for what feels like most of the year on this April night. So less cooling can be required. We also have available land, groundwater utilities, and then there's also some state tax incentives. So on the screen is the Meta data center in Rosemount, which is working its way through the process. I think it's either almost there or fully through approval process. So that's the Rosemount project for the Meta data center. At the March 2nd meeting, we dove pretty deep into the impacts of a data center, so the economic, environmental, political, not all good, not all bad. There's different arguments to be made in each, but just things to think about at a council level, a staff level with our zoning code. With the impact to the community, it can have some tax revenue generation, job creation, but also there are some concerns environmental on the environment. So water use is a big thing that folks are talking about. Sound is something that you hear a lot about in the news articles. Folks living near a data center hearing continuous or intermittent generator noise. And there's not much that's been completed on the comprehensive environmental impact on data centers. It feels like they're having a boom right now, so we're learning as they're happening. Political gets a little sticky because some communities sign non-disclosure agreements. I know the council had a pretty extensive discussion at the March 2nd work session. An understanding of zoning. So what does our zoning look like? What's the impact of that on a project with land that's available? So on the screen now is a map from the city's 2040 comprehensive plan. So what folks are typically calling for data centers is like an industrial user, so something that's not directly adjacent to residential parcels, but could develop in an industrial district. Our zoning code doesn't specifically address data centers, so they're not a permitted use, they're not a conditional use, they're not prohibited. So our code right now, if applied, we wouldn't have a clear answer. It lends itself to be similar to some of the industrial users that we have in our code, but it doesn't specifically call out a data center. In our current city limits, just based on my review and Dave's review, there likely wouldn't be land available in city limits right now for the data center just based on the amount of land that they're requiring. So our city limits have changed a little bit, obviously, since the comprehensive plan. So our line looks a little bit different, but the piece that the industrial could go on is along Jonathan Carver Parkway or west of Lakeview Industries, which is currently not in city limits. So we are being proactive in this approach since there likely is not land available, but our growth areas could lend themselves to data center development because there are large contiguous parcels that could develop. We're anticipating they will develop for an end user of a data center. So key takeaways that we talked about, data centers are happening and they're often contentious. Emotions have and will likely continue to run high for various reasons. Most cities do not regulate data centers yet from a zoning perspective. This feels really reminiscent of the cannabis discussion we had about 18 months ago, where cities were navigating this in different ways because we didn't have specific zoning as things were changing at the state level. We don't currently have a project pending in Carver, so again, this would be proactive. Public transparency is essential, and I know is important to the city council based on conversations that we've had previously, but also through most planning work that you have done. And the goal would be to balance economic development with the long-term impacts of what a data center could do both to the environment, land use, and public trust. So on March 2nd, you were asked a series of options. So the first was, would you like to instate a moratorium, amend the zoning, or do nothing? So see what happens, pivot when a project might come in. The council unanimously agreed that staff should work on a moratorium for data centers. So what that would do is that it would give us a pause. So the moratorium we cannot exceed 1 year from date of adoption and publication. So it'll be April-ish of 2027 when we'll need to be fully through the process. It will give staff time to study data centers, so water systems, zoning, sound impacts, et cetera. I think it's a really pivotal time to be thinking about data centers. There are some cities that are moving forward with moratoriums and some that are moving forward with projects, and I think we can learn from both. So seeing how a community navigates a data center when it does come in, what are the regulations they're thinking about, are they doing specific conditions? So it's going to be an interesting, I think, 6 months, year, 18 months, just to see how the landscape changes with data centers and as communities continue to navigate them one way or another. Some folks are really excited, some folks don't want them anywhere near their community. So it's going to be interesting to watch, but it gives us that time to take in that information, see what other cities are doing, and then create an approach that feels appropriate for Carver specifically. There are 2 actions in the packet tonight. So there's the ordinance imposing the moratorium and also a resolution authorizing summary publication. Summary publication just allows us to post a really cut down version in the newspaper. So it's officially finished when the summary publication happens. That resolution is just allowing us to summarize the information to the newspaper. So again, two actions tonight, but I'll open it up for discussion.
Questions?
This question might be for Dave. So once we go through this whole process of the moratorium, and we get to the end, and let's say that we, as a whole council, we don't want to have these data centers. We've come to the conclusion with all of the facts and findings that it's not for us. Can we legally say no data centers here? Or do we have to have some provisions of where they could come in?
No, I think we can potentially do that. There's not a, it's, that's, Aaron brought up cannabis, right?
Yep.
And we talked about how there's actually a statutory provision that says we cannot prohibit cannabis businesses. There's no such language about data centers. And so if we have the right reasons for it, we could do that. I mean, an ordinance can't be arbitrary and capricious, and what that means is we can't treat data centers differently and prohibit them and at the same time allow other industrial uses that are very similar. We'd have to differentiate them in some way, shape, or form. So to answer your question, that's possible. I think we could get there, but really it would, the devil would be in the details, because we'd have to come up with the right reasons for it. And I think part of the study is gonna determine, the impacts these facilities have on cities, particularly how will they affect Carver, and our residents, and, so I think we could get there, but I don't know if we will for sure.
Sure. All right, thank you. And I want to just state too that I have not made up any decisions at the 100% end of this in my mind. This is just, if we're looking at moratorium, one answer to a moratorium is yes, we figured out how you can be here. Is there also a no on the other side? So that's the question I had, and it's answered. Thank you. Brent had something.
Dave, would you mind just speculating on the amount of risk that could come with that? I know there's no protections for data centers today, but they historically have a lot of resources, and so the city could run the risk of being subject to a suit for someone using our ordinance as an example of being arbitrary and capricious.
Sure. No, I mean, I think that's a good point. This is a very fast-moving, fast-changing landscape, data centers, and the big data centers that are coming in are from these gigantic companies who have unlimited resources and who might not blink if it means making an example out of a city who would prohibit these things so that other cities don't follow suit. And even if they're doing that simply to get headlines and scare city, I mean, that could be the case. So you could see some risk there and you'd get dragged into litigation. I like to tell cities, don't put a target on your back. Try to kind of see what other cities are doing, and sometimes there's reason for it, right, where you'd want to do that. Other times, maybe it's not worth that risk. So that could bring with it more scrutiny from a lot of large companies that really are pushing and trying to get data centers into places like Carver, or at least Minnesota. But we can have a conversation when it comes time and talk more about what that risk could look like depending on what the options are. But I think Brent's point is well taken, that, I think he's teeing up that conversation and previewing that we might say, can you do that? Sure. But you want to make sure you're mindful of the risk behind that kind of a decision, so.
Any other questions, comments? Nothing, Kayla? Nothing?
We covered it in the work session.
Okay. Aaron, my only question for you is I know that that you have peers that are going through this, and that you're gonna be kind of listening and learning from a high level, starting tomorrow and in the days and weeks to come. But when do you anticipate this coming back to us as far as like timeline to really start working on?
That's a good question. Just with how quickly it's changing, I don't think it's going to be something that we'll want to move on terribly quickly. So I wouldn't anticipate it this spring, this summer. But I also want to be cognizant that we need to have something on the books just with how rapidly Carver is developing. The moratorium can last for 1 year. At that point, I would want it to be very solid where we are next April. So I would say late winter of this next year, we could probably start having some serious conversations about what it looks like so we can complete the moratorium with a plan in place not scrambling at the end to say, I want this changed X, Y, Z. I would want it to be fully wrapped up probably at the very latest March of next year. So
Okay.
give us some time, see what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, the news is changing all the time about them, so it's gonna be an interesting process.
Okay, so I think I'm hearing you say Q1 next year is when
Correct.
we kind of revisit this, because
Yes.
there's a lot to learn and figure out, learn from our peers. Okay,
And there'll be a planning commission exercise with it too, so like the wheels will be in motion, I think,
Yep.
before it hits council's agenda for a final decision, but, to Aaron's point, it would probably start late fall, winter, and then it would progress from there. So,
okay,
yeah.
great. If there aren't any other questions, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 01-2026, authorizing a study and imposing a moratorium on the development of, and construction of data centers within the city of Carver.
Second.
Motion by Mayor Johnson, second by Councilmember Pasco. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 116-26, authorizing summary publication of the interim ordinance 01-2026.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Pershman and a second by Councilmember Conrad. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, the 2026 street maintenance project, approval of plans and specs. Mr. Schmidt.
Thank you, Mayor. May I ask, would you like to see the full presentation tonight, or do you want to do the council memo version?
Hold on, I won't read it up quite. I think.
I
the-
can do either.
I think the council, for me.
Are
the
you
council
interested in
member
seeing the
version.
full presentation for what the street improvement project will be?
Thank you.
We aim to please. We aim to please. So we have seen this a number of times. So we're not like making a decision based on like throwing darts at a dartboard. We have seen this. It's in our packet. We've all come to prepared to this meeting. So I
Okay.
think we can do the council memo.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, what we're doing, ultimately looking for a motion to approve the plans and specifications and order the advertisement for bids for the 2026 street maintenance projects. Overview of the areas, so we're gonna be working down in the Carver Bluffs area again. 2026 and 2027 are the last 2 years that we're gonna be in that area for a while, so we're working on getting that piece of the neighborhood buttoned up here in the next 2 years. And then a big piece is Mount Hope Road. That's a state aid project here in 2026, which will be a complete reclamation of that roadway surface with a new paved surface. And I don't know why that isn't showing up, but
It's like you're really going to abbreviate this.
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know what's going on here. Maybe I won't share. From a schedule standpoint, we have the plans. We actually got state aid plan approval today, so we got
Okay.
final signatures from the state aid office, which is great. So that piece is all done. Obviously, the local roads plans they've been done for a while, so. The last piece is, I forgot to mention on Mount Hope Road, it would include the sidewalk extension on the west side of the road. So a 6-foot, bituminous sidewalk would be planned from Lions Park down to Old Carver Road. So if you choose to move forward tonight, we'd be posting the project tomorrow for bidding. And we'd be opening bids here at the end of April and looking to come back to council to consider awarding a contract on May 4th. From a financial standpoint, our cost estimates are still aligned with the pavement management plan estimates, which I presented to you earlier this winter. So $1.965 million funded with a variety of funding sources, local street maintenance funds, state aid funds, utility enterprise funds for some of the utility rehab, and then the interfund loan piece for the sidewalk extension on Mount Hope Road. So all that in total is $1.965 million. I think that's kind of the short of it that I had. I would recommend moving forward, getting it out to bid and getting some final pricing for the project. So, any questions?
I had one question, and that was just about, we had we had talked about what for Steamboat Days and what that looks like for Mount Hope being open. Is that something we address later? Is it, how do we get that worked into this?
So right now in the specs, I have that the week of Steamboat Day, so basically immediately after Labor Day, that whole week would be off limits to the contractor based on prior direction from the council.
Okay, perfect. That's all I have.
Erin, do we have any expectations as far as like duration? I know that there were some feedback last year about, you know, in the areas that were, well, both Mill and Overland full depth reclamation, that the pavement was tore up and then it sat.
Mhm.
And sat and sat and sat. Is there any way that we can narrow that timeline?
Yes, so I did add another provision in the specs, what I'm calling a continuous progress provision. So basically, when they rip a street open, they need to basically continue to advance that piece of the project until it gets repaved again.
Okay.
And if not, we can, apply damages based on their not being on site. So we do have some enhanced language based on the feedback that council
Okay.
provided on that
Super.
piece of it, so,
Great. Thank you.
thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve plans and specifications and order advertisement for bids for the 2026 street maintenance projects.
Motion by Councilmember Conrad,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Hirschman. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, we have item number 9.1. It is the Carver levy acquisitions, and we will be going into a closed session for that because it deals with real estate issues. I need a motion for that, please.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Minnesota statute 13D.05 subdivision 3C to discuss, develop, and consider potential offers to purchase various permanent and temporary easements necessary for the Carver levee improvements project.
Got a motion by Councilmember Conrad?
Mayor and council, just to jump in, there's actually a resolution that we provided tonight that's in your packet. Remember, there's like 21 parcels at issue here, and we had to read them all off last time.
Yes.
So in lieu of the motion that Councilmember Conrad made, and someone having to read off all those PIDs, if she's amenable to this, if we could change the motion to just approving that resolution, that will get us where we need to be.
Okay, is the-
What's the title of the resolution?
Pursuant to state statutes, that one?
It's just adoption of resolution 118-26, authorizing the council to go into closed session
Where
for
am I
the
not
reasons.
seeing this?
It's not on
I've
there.
seen
Okay, so what, say it is, okay, resolution
118-26.
118-26.
Correct.
So I'm making a motion to approve resolution 118-26.
That's sufficient.
Perfect. That was a lot better than the
Got a
first one.
motion by Councilmember Conrad,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Sayer. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right. Thank you. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
'Cause okay. Okay, thanks, Michelle. Okay, we're back after our closed session. So, Dave, I'm a little lost. Do you want to talk us through what we need to be doing right now?
Sure. Okay. And for some reason, the link to the resolution isn't coming up on my, and the memo isn't coming up when I try to open it on my computer, so I don't have access to the memo. But there is now a resolution that we're recommending approval of. That's Resolution 119-26, authorizing easement acquisition for the Carver Levee Improvement Project. As we have talked about, I know we had a closed session to talk about some things, but just for the folks that might be either watching or paying attention on the recorded version of the public meeting, the council met last July to talk initial stages of the Carver Levee project and the need for easements and acquisitions of various property interests in order to construct that project and maintain it into perpetuity. We're now at the point from a project scheduling standpoint and a sequencing standpoint where we need the city council to formally authorize the easement acquisition so that my office can initiate condemnation, file a petition if we get to the point here with some of these properties where we don't have agreements in place. And so there is that resolution in your packet. There was one very minor change made to the resolution, and so I know it was updated on the system. It's really not super critical from the council's perspective. There was a temporary easement area on one of the parcels that we had to replace in the Exhibit A. Exhibit A of the resolution, of course, has all the legal descriptions for all the easements and all the parcel sketches. So it's a lengthy resolution, but again, the recommendation is to approve that resolution tonight, so that would give us the direction and authority, most importantly, we need under the condemnation statute in order to initiate things. And so I'm here to answer any questions, or if you have any questions for Josh Weir, my colleague, who is our eminent domain expert, he is also present tonight.
Point of order, have we gone back into open session? Have we made a motion to go back into open session?
We have, that's a good question. I think we formally opened the meeting up, but if, did we do it in that room?
I don't think we did.
Okay. It doesn't hurt to make that motion, just for the record,
Okay.
although we're technically back in open session. I don't think there's anyone
Okay, let's get a
arguing
motion
otherwise.
to rewind the tape and to go back into open session.
I'll make a motion to go back to the open session,
Motion by Councilmember Sager.
retroactive.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Conrad. All those in favor, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, any questions? Or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 119-26, authorizing an acquisition by eminent domain.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Conrad, a second by Councilmember Pershman. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, 10.1, communications. Strategic plan update, city manager's report. City manager's choice, Brett.
Yeah, let's start with the strategic plan. So
Okay.
just two updates, and I'm happy to kind of get into other areas, but just for the sake of time, I'm focusing on page 2 related to our emergency operations plan. So we've hired Beacon Safety Services to lead that. They've been conducting department reviews, so from the fire department, sheriff's office, public services, finance. I think they're scheduling to meet with Aaron and Nick on community development, et cetera. And so really excited about how that's going to be coming together. There is going to be a opportunity during one of the work sessions for the council to be engaged as part of that kind of formulation of that operations plan, talking about, you know, what you want to see in that plan and how you can participate during an emergency situation, what your roles are, what that looks like, et cetera. And then second item, ABDO was conducting research. Chief Walsh, along with Lynn Schutte, are working and assisting them on developing the fire department's 5-year compensation plan. So it's going to mimic what the city put together for their full-time employees as it relates to looking at our peer cities and what they pay for retirement and hourly compensation. So excited to see that unfold and then eventually bring that to the council. So those are the two main updates. But again, happy to talk about any of the topics that are covered within the strategic plan.
Any questions for Brent?
And just a little commercial that, I know it seems like probably we just did this, but like in the, could be this late winter, spring of 27, we'd be scheduled to do another round of strategic planning. We do it every 2 years, so we can have a whole new list of goals.
Time flies.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna bring up the city manager's report from the work session. So we haven't met for a month, so we have quite a few updates to share. So Spring Creek Drive, you might remember on the north side of that road, Chaska has a residential development that's going in, and in conjunction with that development, they're planning to install a sanitary sewer line. And so that's going to impact the north half of that road. And so through our kind of team's analysis, and we reached out to Braun Intertech, who does soils work, it was our opinion that construction on the north side was going to have an adverse impact to the south side of the road. And if you recall, the boundary line for the two cities is the center line of Spring Creek Drive, at least in that old straightaway section. And so we were, as a comment, requiring or asking it be required that the development reconstruct the entire road so that it's one consistent subgrade and then pavement structure, et cetera. And so in kind of working through that, this is something that Aaron Schmidt would be bringing to you at a future meeting. We have a mill and overlay project scheduled for 2028 in around $80-some thousand for the south half of that drive. And so what we've negotiated in principle, but we need council sign off, is to Chaska would front load that the whole reconstruction, and then when we have that 82,000 available in 2028, that we would pay them for the mill and overlay project that we rescheduled, but in turn get a full city street reconstruction out of that. So I wanted to bring that up to you and get any preliminary feedback that you had related to that. If not, I will move on. Design guidelines. This is something that I've talked a little bit about with the Heritage Preservation Commission. The historic district guidelines for both commercial and residential haven't been done in probably close to 20 years, and so there's funding through the State Historic Preservation Office that can help us upgrade that. So I got a few suggestions or recommendations from the SHPO staff for doing that work, and so one of the groups that I reached out to has been kind enough to help develop an RFP for that work, and so going to be working with them and the HPC on developing that concept and what tweaks or changes we can make to our existing guidelines to make them more user-friendly, not just from a resident's perspective, but I think Councilmember Conrad could kind of speak to this. Sometimes it's kind of hard to read them as the commissioners or staff to like, what are they really getting at? There's a lot of conversations about like materials and if the improvement is made, you know, non-street side, what that means. And so I think there's an opportunity to really give a refresh to that set of regulations.
Yeah, and you know, materials change over time, and when we're looking back 20 years, different things come up, right? And then the guidelines we have right now don't even address a lot of materials that we wouldn't have known were coming up and that we've had now for a number of years that you are able to use as, you know, a regular homeowner, but we can't do anything because we can't address it within the guidelines we have. So looking forward to this update. I mean, it's a great document. It's very helpful. And it's been very helpful for the HPC to have because they can reference it. But yeah, that refresh is definitely, it's time.
The Carver Insurance Group has purchased the 212 Broadway building, or sometimes known as the 212 and 214 Broadway building, so that's immediately south of Harvey's. And they're planning a major building renovation, both exterior and interior. And so Paul Newton is gonna be coming to the next HPC meeting a week from Tuesday, just to do a design consultation. We haven't done a lot of those in the past, but he just kind of wants to run some ideas and concepts before presenting a full set of plans. So just kind of highlighting that meeting. Did someone say something? Nope. The League of Minnesota Cities Conference is in Rochester, June 24th through 26th. I know Mayor Johnson is attending. I'll be attending. I don't know if any other council members, I know Councilmember Sayre said she won't be attending this year. I did reserve some rooms in advance for the city, just so you don't have to be shuttled. I know there's some hotels that are a little further out. So if you are interested, let me know and we can get you registered and get you assigned a room. Is there anybody that knows right away that they might be interested, or?
Yeah, I would be.
Maybe, no question.
I have to check with my childcare.
The Southwest Chamber is hosting a first responders luncheon on Wednesday, April 29th at the Chaska Event Center. We signed up Mayor Johnson, but if anyone else is interested, please let us know and we can get you registered for that event. We last looked at our cell phone policy in 2022, so we're starting off on an amendment to that, just to kind of freshen it up. I'm not expecting anything major, but one of the things I did want to broach to the council is if you're interested in participating in the reimbursement program or the device allowance program. So right now, full-time employees that are approved for use get $75 towards a phone and a plan. What we're working towards is developing kind of a lower user plan for some folks that maybe aren't using it as much as our high users, and then clarifying some stuff for the fire department. But I do think there's an argument to be made that the council could be eligible for that $75 bring your own device allowance. But before, I know that talking about council and reimbursement and compensation can be tricky, so I just wanted to check in with you before developing a formal policy amendment.
Thoughts?
Not opposed.
Not opposed.
Not opposed.
Not opposed.
I am not in favor. I have a plan already. I have a phone. Respectfully, I bet I use my phone more for city business than everybody combined. And this isn't the day of, like, I have unlimited texts, I have unlimited data, I have unlimited calls. I don't like the optics of the reimbursement.
Would you like it less, more if it was less, or just at all?
No, at all. Because we get what is sometimes referred to as a stipend that can go towards that. I don't think that, like, again, respectfully, you guys, I don't think that you are using your phones.
This is not for a separate device for the
Correct.
city.
No, this is a reimbursement.
Yeah, it's a reimbursement for using your own device.
That
Oh,
we're
I
already
don't,
using.
no,
I'm still not opposed to it.
I don't see the need for it. If it's,
So this is not having to acquire your own device
Correct.
solely for city use.
Right, we don't have that for any
Okay.
employees. What we do is a device reimbursement program to use your own device. And so some cities do that, and so I just wanted to broach that. And so rather than showing up with that in there, I wanted to see if you were amenable to the conversation at that time.
I don't need a second device, and it doesn't cost me anything more to use the one I'm using. So I don't.
But just to be clear, this isn't a second device.
Right,
This
right, I
is
get that now.
reimbursing for all of
I
the cell
thought this was
phones
an
that-
option to have. So, no, this is all, the city use for me is is a email address on my existing device. I don't know, I feel like I'd be giving myself a $75 raise if I did that, so.
Do you want to run through it again, though? See if it's changed?
Sorry.
Well, I'm hearing no, no, and no.
Okay.
So, we
Yeah.
can,
Thanks.
are you?
Nope, that's what I
you're
needed.
still
I needed
yes?
to, nope, I wanted to count 3. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yes, I am still yes, but we counted to 3.
Okay.
I'm sorry for the
No,
misunderstanding.
all good. That's why we checked in. Just letting you know, I'll be at the Minnesota City Managers Conference, April 29th through May 1st in Nisswa. Just calling out, we've posted on social media and the website, but we're going to be doing some additional seeding work at the Creekside Park Dog Parks. So planning to open on May 22nd, and then mark your calendars for June 3rd at 5:30. We're planning a ribbon cutting and doing some extra kind of events. Aaron Smith and some others on the team are kind of working toward developing some fun options. And I think Aaron's reached out to Dr. Carissa at Healing Hands to see if we can do kind of a in conjunction event to talk about her services as well. I shared with the council last week that we finished one project out of the funding for the state's local road improvement program. So I reached out to MnDOT and asked for if we could just get like an agency review, and if there are things that we could do to enhance our project scoring and create opportunities for that we'd be open to that. And so they were open to doing that. So we have something on the calendar in June to do that. So I know we've tried on that and missed twice, but I do think this opportunity creates some more opportunities for us. So I think it'd be worth the time and effort to submit again in 2027.
It's a great idea to do a review too, like maybe our eagerness and familiarity with the decision makers would help a little
Yeah.
bit.
On upcoming agendas in May, on May 4th, Will Little, who's the new administrator for the Lower Minnesota Watershed District, is going to be doing a welcome and presentation, or organizational review of what they do in the community. And that'll be followed up on May 18th with Paul Moline. We're served by 2 watershed districts. So Paul Moline is with the Carver County Water Management Organization. So I've connected with both. And so it'll be something new for the council to discuss in May. And then finally, earlier in the year, we were talking a lot, or it could have actually been in 2025 now that I think about it, in the fall, working with Mark Lano on some concerns he had with drainage through his property, and at least in work sessions the council had discussed and kind of had some consensus around the city doing a project to bring a kind of a formal concrete storm water pipe down Commerce, cross 212, and then kind of work its way into our overall drainage system. And so Aaron Schmidt, the city engineer, developed kind of a concept, and as a part of that review, we needed to get sign off from MnDOT's water management group, and we're not to date successful with that.
Didn't they kind of shut you down on that?
Yeah, I would say they wanted some additional research to be done, and I offered to them that the city had exhausted its resources on this, and that this is our plan and we think it works. But there was some contention from them on whether or not there was a problem and what a solution, if any, should look like. And so I would say the summary version of that is that we put them in touch with Mr. Lano and said, if you want to do some survey work, you should get in contact with them. And so the way that I perceive this is that this project will move forward or not, depending upon MnDOT's willingness to allow the city to do a project or have a project done at all. And so I just wanted to kind of, because we talked about that in such a public forum, just kind of provide an update on where we're at to date. And it potentially could mean that the situation, to whatever degree you think it's impacting things, may not change in the short term. So Those are my updates, but happy to answer any questions or share updates on projects that I haven't provided here.
Any questions?
I don't.
All right, council requests and updates. Kaylee, you wanna go first?
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've been here. And the big thing that happened since we've been here is that Courtney and Brent and I went to the League of Minnesota Cities Day at the Capitol. And we had some really good conversations with Representative Harder and Senator Grunhagen as we were chasing them in between their meetings. But they were more than happy to meet with us and to hear what we had to say. And we were also able to kind of do some spontaneous advocacy regarding transportation, because that came up in committee that day kind of unexpectedly. And you know, we talked about our legislative priorities and not wanting Southwest Transit to go away. And so being able to grab some people as they came out of committee and give them a couple of words and say, you know, this actually does matter, because that is not the picture that they're necessarily being given. So that was really good, and I was glad to be able to take part in that, and look forward to continuing those relationships as they're have a little bit more time outside of session.
I don't know that I've ever remember doing it like that. Generally, like, we meet in their office, but
The chasing down. You
yeah,
haven't
like
done
the literal,
chasing
like,
down.
hey, yeah.
I'm outside room number.
Yeah, the text. Actually, I chased Senator Grunhagen down before. Christie?
The only thing I have is next week we have an HPC meeting on Tuesday, the 14th. I now unfortunately have a work conflict. Mayor Johnson also has a work conflict, or I should say a conflict. I thought it was work, but it is whatever it is. Are any of you available on Tuesday at 6 p.m.?
Say the date again?
14th, next Tuesday.
I am available.
And if you can't, I am too.
Okay,
So you
all right.
you take it.
Yes, I will be in attendance.
Okay,
The
sounds
14th.
great. And if for some reason you can't, then you can punt it over to Eric and we're covered. Okay, great. Thanks.
Lori?
I have one update. So on the 14th, I'm going to be at the HPC meeting. That's it.
Okay, Eric.
All right, so on March 11th, while you guys were running around the Capitol chasing Harder and Grunhagen down, I was in the in session testifying for the city's position. So it is John Kosnick's HF 4111, and it is to consolidate suburban transit providers, which means for us dissolving Southwest Transit. There were a number of people testifying on behalf of Southwest Transit from the agency, but we also had surprise riders show up that we didn't have even have knowledge would be there in support of Southwest Transit.
You said riders, like
Riders.
the users. Okay,
Yep,
we have
yeah,
riders.
they showed up as well. So this is, the proposal says, the bill says, it'll save $50 million to turn everything over to Met Transit. And that's looking at very specific selected metrics in a worst-case scenario. I don't think that number's a real number. But you would save money, because it would eliminate Southwest Prime. It would eliminate services like that. We would lose that. We could also consolidate all the libraries in the Twin Cities to one, and the state would save money. It doesn't mean
Careful,
you.
there's a proposal for that.
So, you know, it doesn't serve our community well. It doesn't serve Waconia or Victoria or any of the other communities that the opt-out providers support. So that was, it'll move forward. I don't think anybody wanted to, if it had been a roll call vote, it probably wouldn't have moved forward, but it was easy to punt, kick the can and let it go forward. So I think we need to make sure that our voices are heard, because we will be, we lose everything. We are more impacted than Chaska, Chanhassen, and Eden Prairie. So as things keep going forward, let's reach out and tell the folks that have a voice how this impacts us. That's it for me.
Thank you. Is that continuing, is there still life in that bill?
Well, it hasn't been voted down yet,
Okay.
but
no
it
action
has to
since-
get funding. It has to go to, the next stop is to really look at the numbers, and I think that's probably where it is likely not to go any further, because there's not $50 million of savings.
What's the final committee deadline? Have we passed the final committee deadline yet?
I don't know. Well, I don't think we have, but I don't know the date.
Okay. Because it may not even come up at committee again.
Correct. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thanks for.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. I mean, really, thank you for like
Yeah.
looking out for that, because we would be, I mean, it would be horrible if we lost that in Carver, right?
And
I mean,
it's
and not just us, a lot of people would be, a lot of other places too.
It's really tough because the way that it's being portrayed is that no one will lose any service, is the way that it's being portrayed. And the legislators I've talked to are saying that that's how it's being presented to them, is that no one loses anything. And while that theoretically is true, in reality, we're gonna lose service. So.
From a Met Transit standpoint, in their view, nobody loses core service,
Mhm.
which is a big bus.
Yeah,
But in 2026, people don't take big buses from Carver
Carver
anymore.
to anywhere,
Right.
yeah.
Right, so,
We don't have them.
it does affect any community that uses a Southwest Prime or similar service. All right.
All right, updates from me. On March 4th, it was Local Government Day at Chaska Middle School West. I spoke to three classes, and they do a panel discussion. So there were, Chaska Mayor was there was a council member from Chaska, I think there was also from Chan and Victoria, and then one county commissioner. Best question was, what advice would you give 7th grade you? Which I thought was really insightful. And then we
What
did.
was it?
I would tell her to not stress so much. It all turns out okay. And then we got the how much do you make question, which I love. But there was quite the juxtaposition, because there was me on the low end, and then there was a Carver County Commissioner who makes a little bit more than what we make here in Carver.
And to them, it probably sounds like a huge number no matter what it is,
Well,
right?
and
Like-
that's the question that I always say.
Yeah.
Like, I say, this is what I make as mayor. Who thinks that that's a lot of money? And especially with like the elementary school
Yeah.
kids, like all kinds of hands go up. And it's like, okay, well, here's what a car payment costs. And like, that's not enough for a car payment. Like, this is how much to fund your Roth IRA, kids. And it's not enough to do that. So, on March 10th, I had dinner with the mayor. I hosted 5 community members at my home and had a really great conversation. People email me. I've communicated a couple different ways, and we just so happen to have, like, all 5 folks had careers in STEM, which was super interesting. Day on the Hill we already talked about, which was March 11th. On March 13th, Councilmember Pershman and I visited Carver Crossing. And it was a little bit of a smaller group, but a really, really good group. Apparently, they are hearing there, and I'd heard this from another community member, so I posted something on social media about it, but they said, so who are you selling it to? And we were like, what? They said, the parking lot next to us, Carver Station. We hear it's being sold. We're like, it's not being sold. In fact, and so it was a good opportunity to kind of educate folks. The city owns that. We're not doing anything with it. The farmers market will continue to be there this summer. Special events will take place. Special event busing will take place there. I was in Washington, D.C. I wrote about that in the April newsletter. I was there from March 15th through the 18th for the National League of Cities Congressional City Conference. And that was something that I was there in my role as part of the executive committee on the Minnesota League of Cities. So huge benefit to having me there at zero cost to the city of Carver. Last year, we kind of charged the Hill and had a day on the Hill where we all went and met with our congressional delegates. This year, we did things a little bit differently, where the league held a breakfast on Tuesday morning and invited everybody. And I think we had about, I think it was like 6 or 7 out of 10 of Minnesota's congressional delegates. So that was the week right after the snowstorm in Minnesota. So we didn't have Senator Smith. She sent somebody from her office. And then Representative Emmer had a scheduling conflict. So, but it was great to hear from the folks that we did. Carver Business Alliance meeting on March 20th, continuing to have a decent turnout at those meetings. On March 24th, we had the Chamber Coffee Connect here at City Hall. Brent mentioned the first responders luncheon, and the Chamber very purposefully has coffee connects in each of the 4 committees, or each of the 4 communities before the first responders luncheon, and they invite the fire chief and they invite the sheriff, sheriff's deputy to the event and kind of let them talk about what they do in the community and kind of what's on their radar and those kinds of things, kind of all leading up to this event that'll take place a little bit later this month. On March 27th, I'd meet the mayor at Carver Ridge, and it's always so fascinating to hear from the folks who are living there and their lived experiences and their life experiences. There was one woman who is clearly now retired. Her professional career was in real estate, and she said, I'm so intrigued that Carver got, she goes, I'm so impressed that Carver got a Taco Bell. Because she said, I was doing professional real estate, I forget where she said, it was a college town in Arizona, and they couldn't get a Taco Bell. So just their anecdotes and, you know, what they've learned and teaching me, it's fascinating. Let's say on March 28th, Chaska Mayor Hubbard and I went to Chaska High School way past our bedtimes and helped welcome home the Class 4A State Boys Basketball Championship team. So it was fun. They had a little impromptu pep rally, and it was fun to see the community come out and support them. On last Friday, April 3rd, I did lunch with leaders at Cologne Academy. That's a group of 4th graders who are leaders in their class, leaders in the school. They help identify good behavior from their classmates, especially in the lower grades. But then part of this program is they invite leaders in and just ask all kinds of questions. So lots of good questions from that group. The Lions Easter egg hunt was on Saturday. Yeah, last Saturday. And it was a really great turnout, which I wasn't quite expecting because the weather was not so great. But the Lions were out bright and early and once again put on just a fantastic event for everybody. So last call out is in the consent agenda tonight. We accepted the grant funds from the DNR for Creekside Park. So that was $350,000 that didn't come from Park Dedication Fund, but we were able to use it for the park. Thanks, I think, to Aaron and some of the other team members' hard work of writing that grant and successfully getting it for us. So that is it. I'm glad that we're back in our every other week-ish rotation. A month away was a long time. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Councilmember Sayre.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Conrad. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Good evening. Okay,
We're on air. So
this
we're
is
pretty safe.
this is actually 2 seconds. It's okay. We'll just do it real quick. This is going to be quick. It is 9:16. I am going to call the Carver Economic Development. Are we still okay to do this?
Yeah, I thought we were done. Erica got landed at the airport.
Does she need to be picked up?
No.
Because I can go and grab her.
This is a plug for
Okay.
Prime.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. We're gonna convene as the Carver County, or the City of Carver Economic Development Authority. So I'm calling the meeting to order. Can I get approval of the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the February 3rd, 2025 CEDA meeting.
Motion by Councilmember Sayre,
Second?
second by Councilmember Pasco. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, tonight's,
I think we have, there's 2 more motions in part of this meeting.
yes.
Yes, we're
That's
waiting.
where we're getting to.
Okay, sorry. I didn't know.
Tonight's business item is the amendments to the Downtown Restoration Loan Program. Mr. Merrick.
I can't believe I did that.
We all did. We all
all
I
did.
thought we were done. I was like, okay.
Yeah,
Time
we
to
all
go.
did.
I blame Dave.
All right.
I didn't even move.
It's, it's your fault because you told us we had to meet more regularly, so.
And we are, right?
Okay.
Dave, while I catch my breath, would you just mind explaining to the city why we're meeting as a EDA, what it is, and how it functions within the umbrella of the city?
Sure, so the EDA, of course, is a separate legal entity. Some people don't fully understand that. Of course, it's the same 5 people who sit on the EDA as on the city council, but you take off your city council person hat and you put on your EDA hat. And EDAs are a creature of statute. They have different authority than cities, and they can do things like create loan programs for downtown restoration, and use money to effectively provide forgivable grants. That's just one example, of course, something an EDA can do that a city cannot do. So because we're a separate legal entity, separate meetings need to happen. So what we have been doing, and I think it's changed a little bit since I've become the city attorney, is we're kind of getting away from doing an EDA meeting during a council meeting, and rather we're doing these meetings separately. So we do them on the same night because it's convenient, but technically we're, of course, adjourned from the council meeting, and now here we are meeting as the Economic Development Authority. So trying to keep that very clean, separate. And then the other thing that you noticed, just sort of go along with that, is you'll have to approve minutes for the most recent meeting. Sometimes that could be months or years later. I think, in fact, when we met last February, we approved minutes from a meeting that had happened, I don't know, in 2015.
15.
Yeah, it was like 10 years previously, but obviously it's a never-ending cycle. If you just meet to approve minutes, you'll have to just meet again to approve minutes. So anyway, that's a quick sort of rationale for why we're meeting separately, but throw it over to Brent to handle the business.
Did the EDA approve the minutes from the last
Yep.
meeting?
Yep.
All right. Thank you, members of the EDA. In August of 2011, the EDA established a facade treatment loan program. The purpose of the program was to encourage and provide a financial incentive for exterior work to buildings in the Carver Historic District. In 2014, the EDA made some amendments to the program, including renaming it to the Downtown Restoration Loan Program. The program in part provides a forgivable loan to non-single family property owners in the district. The program provides up to 50% of the project costs to make exterior building improvements. The improvements have to be approved by the Heritage Preservation Commission, which in turn means that they have to be consistent with the historic district guidelines. Initially, there was 2 parts of the program, one for a traditional loan, which right away in 2011, when the EDA approved the program, Carver Country Flowers and Gifts, Ned Hence's property, took part in that. So that's the only traditional loan. The balance of the loans have been forgivable, so loans have been made to Harvey's, the Dog House, I believe Getaway Motor Cafe, and a Cup of Carver, just from memory. Might not have a complete list there. But we're still operating off of the initial investment made by the council via the budget to the EDA. And so, and we haven't changed the loan amounts. And from feedback from our most, recent application to the program, I know $2,500 is a lot of money, but considering exterior improvements, the applicant mentioned it's really a lot of paperwork just for that $2,500. And so we have $9,500 in cash balance, considering kind of the scale when you think about tuck pointing brick or some of the other things that go along with exterior improvements. It's really not a lot of money. And so on top of removing some of the requirements for applicant information, a lot of this was baked in under the city's former city attorney. I think there was an opportunity to have Dave review it and then kind of clean up some of the items that we really don't use. Like an example is we wanted the Beacon credit score, which is probably not something that we've probably ever significantly looked at when making awards out. And so then the third piece is increasing the maximum forgivable loan from $2,500 to $7,500. So it'd end up being a $15,000 project where they'd have to contribute at least half. I think there's frankly an opportunity to do more to make it more significant, but that's probably a conversation for 2027 and beyond budget as far as how you want to manage that program. We also have, not contained within the EDA, but we have that sack and whack rebate program. So if a business was changing its use and they had to go to Met Council and they got an additional SAC determination, the city always then matches that. And if they make historic improvements to their building, we'll rebate them dollar for dollar on that. And so we did do that with the Getaway Motor Cafe and Cup of Carver, which is now no longer in existence. But those are, it's not just this program, there are other programs that are out there. So happy to answer any questions. Dave helped with the review and the edits made to the program.
When did we last fund this?
I think 2012.
So it's been sitting with a $9,500 balance since then?
No, it's been going, so we've made reductions of $2,500. So $2,500 to the doghouse, $2,500 to Harvey's. I think our initial investment was, from memory, was somewhere between 20 and 25,000.
Do we have a schedule to refund it?
We don't. That's what would come up in the, I would say, the 27 budget discussion. I would, just to kind of preview, I think my commentary would be, do you want to fund it? And if you don't, I think we should look at like exhausting the funds and ending the program. But we're at a point now, if, you know, I'm suspecting, and I've offered it to Carver Insurance Group, that this program would be a good use of like the things that they're talking about, which are way in excess of $15,000. But I think since it's been so long since the council / like EDA's had a conversation about it, at least over a decade at this point, it's worth another conversation about, is this the work you want the city / EDA to do, and what that investment looks like, all those types of conversations.
Brent, what, if we go to page, it's the actual physical page 4 of the document, so it's gonna start with 8 forgivable loan terms. Well, one, we've got a lettering issue because it's A, B, 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 C, so we'll just have to have that relettered. Are you there?
Mhm.
Okay, but the $200 application fee, does that come out of, I mean, are they gonna spend the $200? What would prompt someone to say, you know, hopefully I get some money, but I'm gonna spend $200 to even just apply for it? Does that come out of their award at the end, or?
No, it doesn't come out of their award.
Okay,
I
so.
mean, we have costs, so like,
I'm not saying it's not, that
Oh,
we can't
okay.
have it, I'm just saying $200 is a fair amount of money to put in a permit or an application fee. So do we coach them ahead of time to say, here's, you know, this is likelihood of this project is good to be funded? Or
Yeah,
are
we've
we just
never-
willy-nilly taking, you know, having $200 come in and being like, no, never mind,
yeah, we've never had a project like that.
that's not, okay.
No. I mean, and the two, because we'll have to have, in some cases, multiple agreements drafted by the city attorney for it, so it probably doesn't cover all of it, right?
It definitely doesn't. I mean, now that we've done one recently, there's more of a template for it, and I think it wouldn't be a ton of work to put new ones together. But to answer your question, I assume they're gonna come in and talk to staff and say, here's what we're thinking. We haven't applied yet, but Brent, to the coaching element to it, they're not gonna come in and catch staff, you know, cold with an application. They probably talk through it. staff's always very available to talk to downtown business owners on these things, and I suspect if Brent said, this doesn't seem to meet the criteria, or you gotta make a couple changes here and there, and they're unwilling to do that, to get to the criteria, they would probably just, they
Yeah.
wouldn't spend the
Yeah.
$200, and we wouldn't be moving forward with it, so.
And I would say every time we've had a building exchange hands, and even starting back to when the program kicked off, I did door knocking, and like, I remember sitting down at Lisa's place with Lisa with Diet Coke, and went over the program and encouraged her to apply for it. But it also is it's helpful because in some cases, like, the formal process adds like some expectations for like fulfilling some processes and paperwork, where like we've run into occasions where folks just say they are interested in it and then expect to get a check, and there's like more to that, because like the council has to approve it, a document has to be created, so but to your like original question, we'd never put ourselves or the council or the EDA in a position where like we'd accept an application on something that we knew was gonna be a fail.
Okay, good. I figured, but I just wanted that to be out there, because that is a decent fee. Is there a reason that 7,500 was picked as a number? Because I'm just looking at 2,500, yes, I agree that it should go up. 75, I mean, we're helping out businesses, homeowners. I do hear from homeowners downtown who say, well, wait a minute. So now if it's a business, you can get money from the city, but the city won't fund, obviously, personal homes. So I'm all for this, but for me, maybe just the doubling of it to 5,000, I think to me is really palatable. I don't know why, but I just think that, I mean, we still haven't funded this fully for upcoming years. So if we go to 5,000 now, I think that's great. We still have some left in the fund, and then we look at funding it additionally. But we have a lot of expenses as a city coming up. Now, this is not that much, but everything could be not that much. We can be throwing $5,000 out here and there, 7,000 here and there.
I was thinking similarly of that, but my rationale for that was with the current fund balance in the EDA being $9,500. That seems like an awkward amount that's left over, right? And I feel like we could fund 2 $5,000 grants. I'm sure we can figure out $500 to put into the EDA if we were to get a second applicant.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe we reevaluate it during budget season when we think about.
Well, let's be honest, someone could come in with a project that's 8,000 and they only take 4,000 of it. But I do think it'd be nice to be really close to funding two projects out of this.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
that would be my only comment was, and just for that reason, because we only have less than $10,000.
So turn it to 5,000 as max amount for now?
For now.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
Agree.
Yep.
Does anybody want to make a motion with that amendment?
Do we need to make a motion to alter the amendments?
Yeah, that would be in your motion.
I'll make a motion to approve amendments to the Downtown Restoration Loan Program
With,
With an amendment,
with an amendment of $5,000 instead of $7,500
for the maximum forgivable loan.
for maximum forgivable loan.
I'll second.
Does that cover us?
Yep.
We've got a motion by Councilmember Sarah, second by Councilmember Conrad. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn the Carver Economic Development Authority meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Councilmember Parchman,
Second.
second by Councilmember Pasco. Still struggling with? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Good evening now for real.
Now you can go get Erica from the airport.
Yeah.